Welcome back to the online course design series, your step-by-step guide to building effective and engaging online courses. Hi again, Dr. Beaker here. At this point, you've already built a strong foundation. Your objectives are clear, your assessments are aligned, and you've chosen smart evaluation strategies. Now, it's time to think about what your students will engage with. The readings, videos, guides, and other materials that help them learn what they need to succeed. Today, we're talking about instructional materials. You'll learn best practices for how to choose them, how to explain them to your students, and how to ensure they are useful and accessible. Let's start with an important point. Every instructional material you include should serve a clear purpose. Not all materials related to the subject matter are appropriate for your lessons. While they might be interesting or even crucial to the overall field of study, if they don't directly help students achieve the stated learning objectives, they should not be included. Even if content is valuable, if it doesn't contribute to students' progress toward the objectives, it risks becoming busy work, and students are quick to pick up on that. They see it as extra material that doesn't serve a clear learning goal, which can lead to frustration and disengagement. Remember, students only have so much time and attention. So when selecting content, ask yourself, does this material help students complete the assessments aligned with the lesson and course objectives? If the answer is no, it's best to leave it out. Less is often more. When you focus on content that's clear, concise, and directly tied to your objectives, students will better understand the purpose of each material. It also reduces cognitive overload, making it easier for them to process and retain what's necessary to succeed. But what if you come across material that you feel is essential, but it doesn't fit with your current objectives? In that case, you'll need to revise your course objectives to include it. Just keep in mind, this change will affect the course workload. Not only will you be adding to students' workload by introducing new content, but you'll also be adding to your own with new assessments to measure your new objectives. When re-evaluating, be sure to maintain balance across your course, ensuring the workload remains manageable for both you and your students. Even the best materials lose impact if students don't understand why they're reading or watching them. Think of it like this. If you were teaching face-to-face, you'd hand out materials and likely explain their purpose to students, perhaps even connecting them to an upcoming assignment. Posting instructional materials without explaining their relevance is like distributing a handout in class and then walking out of the room without saying a word. In an online environment, it's just as important to provide context for your students. A short narrative description, a simple note, can make all the difference. This doesn't have to be lengthy, just a few sentences that explain the purpose of the material. For example, I used a video that supports a formative and summative assessment. The video has a descriptive title, which clearly frames the content. I also provided a brief description, similar to how I would introduce the same video in my face-to-face class. This brief note provides clarity and sets the tone for the learning experience. It helps students understand the relevance of the material and why it matters to their learning. Just a sentence or two can build motivation and make the course feel more like a guided journey rather than a series of disconnected tasks. When choosing or creating materials, ensure they're accessible to all students. Accessibility is about inclusivity, not just accommodations. For example, captions or transcripts on videos benefit everyone, not just those with hearing impairments, helping students in noisy environments or those who prefer reading along. Headings in long documents improve navigation, making it easier for all students to focus on key information. High contrast between text and background enhances readability, especially for those with visual impairments or varying lighting conditions. Alt text for images is vital for students using screen readers and also benefits those with slow internet connections. OCR, optical character recognition, for scanned documents makes text accessible to screen readers, allowing students to search and reference content more easily. These adjustments help all learners engage more effectively, creating a more inclusive and accessible learning environment. In this lesson, you'll use the Instructional Materials worksheet to align your instructional materials with your lesson objectives. This process is essential because it helps ensure that every piece of content you use directly supports student learning and contributes to achieving your course goals. I'll guide you through each section, showing you how to clearly define and organize your materials so they're purposeful and effective. Let's walk through each step together. First, you'll start by identifying the lesson objective that each material supports. Think about specific assessments or learning goals this material is helping to achieve. For example, if you're using a video on communication styles, your objective might be something like identify characteristics of passive, assertive, and aggressive communication styles. Write that down so you're clear on how the material connects to the lesson goal. Next, indicate the source of the material. If the material was created by you, then enter your name in the source field. If you found it online, provide the name of the website and the URL so that you can provide a link in the Blackboard course. In the narrative description field, briefly explain what the material is about. As we discussed earlier, this is your chance to provide context for the material and why you selected it for this lesson. Keep it short but informative. Now, for the material type. Choose the type of resource you're using, whether it's a video, article, slide deck, self-created document, or something else. This helps you categorize the materials and think about the format students will engage with. Then, estimate the time on task for each material. How long will students need to engage with it? Be realistic about the time commitment. If a video is 10 minutes long, don't just say 10 minutes. Take into account any reflection time or additional activities that might be tied to the material. Next, you'll explain how the material supports the objective. How does this material help students achieve the learning goal? Does it explain key concepts, provide examples, or help them prepare for an assignment? This evaluation will ensure that your material provides all required information to complete the assignment and meet the objective. Now, let's look at the accessibility features. You'll want to check off the accessibility features included with each resource, like captions or transcripts for videos, alt text for images, or headings for easy navigation. If your material includes any of these features, make sure to note it here, as it's essential for making sure all students can engage with the content. Once you've completed each section for your material, take a moment to review the entire worksheet. This will help you ensure everything is aligned with the lesson objectives and it provides a clear and accessible experience for your students. I encourage you to create a new copy of the worksheet for each material and save each one in a folder on your computer. Remember, these steps help you build a course that's not just effective, but inclusive and easy to navigate. As we wrap up this lesson, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered. First, we discussed the importance of choosing instructional materials that align with your objectives. Every material you select should help your students achieve the learning goals you've set. Remember, less is often more. Keeping your content focused and purposeful helps students stay engaged and minimizes cognitive overload. We also talked about how adding a short narrative to each piece of material can guide students and clarify its purpose, making the course feel more like a guided journey. As you work through the Instructional Materials worksheet, you'll be planning, aligning, and ensuring accessibility for all your resources, setting a strong foundation for the rest of your course design. You're making fantastic progress. Keep focusing on clarity, alignment, and accessibility, and your course will be even more effective and inclusive for your students. I look forward to seeing you in the next video as we continue to refine and strengthen your course design process. Keep up the great work.